Donald Trump's losing campaign. Donald Trump's losing campaign is trying to do all that is possible to give both its people and those that are not voting for him the impression that somehow there is this great red wave coming. There's this great momentum coming. I want you to listen to John Harwood, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Well, what we've heard from the president is repeated attempts, as you know, Chris, and as you outlined in the lead-in, repeated attempts to undermine the credibility of the election. And there's no mystery of why he's doing it. President Trump knows that he's losing. He knows that a majority of Americans disapprove of his performance. All the polls show it, both nationally and in more than enough battleground states to win. And so he's trying to figure out some way to screw with the vote counting process to somehow jigger an outcome to his favor. You had one of his advisors going on a Sunday show today and saying, well, we're going to be leading and have more than 280 electoral votes on election night, and then they're going to try to steal it. Well, that is preposterous, because you don't have any electoral votes until you've won a state, and you haven't won a state until they've counted the votes in the state. Now, that argument is so outrageous that the president, as he typically does after he puts a nutty idea out front, he tried to kind of walk it back. Take a listen to what he had to say when challenged on this issue.
That was a false report. We'll look at what happens. I think it's a terrible thing when ballots can be collected after an election. You're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 states, depending on how it ends up, where they're tabulating ballots, and the rest of the world is waiting to find out. And I think there's great danger to it, and I think a lot of fraud and misuse can take place. And I don't think it's fair that we have to wait a long period of time after the election. If people wanted to get their ballots in, they should have gotten their ballots in long before that, a long time.
You know, the president is trying to justify this rhetoric that he's using by saying, well, you should have gotten your vote in. We have a pandemic. We've got problems with the Postal Service. This is unprecedented conditions that people are adjusting to. But what the president's trying to do in trying to mess with the outcome of the election is he's talking like a thug, and he's encouraging his aides and supporters to act like thugs. That's why you saw these people with these trucks trying to run the Biden-Harris bus off the road the other day, and you saw people trying to tie up traffic for no reason in New York. They're trying to see if they can get away with it. And the only question is whether the judicial branch, if this comes to it, we've seen the rulings in Texas about the drive-by locations. We have the prospect of litigation about ballots coming in 3 days late in North Carolina and also in Pennsylvania. The question is, are Republican-appointed judges going to go along with it? And there are some indications from the Supreme Court that the conservative bloc on the court would go with the president. You heard Brett Kavanaugh endorsing some of this rhetoric about clouds of suspicion over late vote counting, which is, again, it's nuts. There's not evidence of vote fraud, which Brett Kavanaugh find out from Ben Ginsburg, his partner in the 2000 Bush campaign when they were trying to stop the vote counting in Florida. Ben Ginsburg has said there's not evidence of fraud. The Republican Party is trying to gin it up.
That's exactly what the Republican Party is trying to do. But you know what? Like we said, it won't work if we do our job. Overwhelming voting in every single state. Overwhelm the vote. And if you overwhelm the vote, even the best attempts at voter suppression will not work. Put in one drop box in a county of over 4 million people, as we're doing in Texas, to try to jeopardize voting. It didn't work. We still had a record turnout. Every American citizen, if you do your duty and you forget all the obstacles that they're attempting to put in front of you, the people ultimately wins. The people ultimately win. So that is where we're at. Tomorrow is election day. Vote, vote, vote. Take someone to vote with you. Encourage others to vote if you've already voted. And convince others how important this election is. Because, folks, I think we're in for a huge surprise on Tuesday night. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.